We're gonna do some hot webcam action today. Get ready for it. Are you ready? Oh my god, look at that resolution. Hey guys. So good. Looks so bad on here. Okay, well, we'll just get this started here. Hey everybody, thanks for coming in today. I'm going to be trying some gray wash stuff. What the hell is gray wash? We'll talk about it. Pretty laid back today. Just wrapping the day out with trying to learn this medium. So if you're watching on YouTube on the recorded version and stuff, please leave a comment. I would like to do more of these as well, but as you can tell, I finally got this webcam way up here is actually, for those of you that have been on my channel since almost the beginning, it's the same one. So it's like a 5-6 year old webcam, and it's obvious this is the best resolution it can do. So you guys let me know if it's like, if there's even a point in doing this, if it's too gross, if there's lag, anything like that. Just let me know. See what we can do. But if this turns into something that might be something cool, and I'm hoping it does for me as well, I'll look into getting a better webcam. Then we can do some more traditional stuff. That'll be fun. And I'm actually on my computer desk, which is different. It's not on an incline like what I normally draw on, so I might be leaning forward. It's a little old school, I haven't had to work on 11 by 7 Bristol in a while. Now that cool stuff. Okay, so what are we doing here? Well, this, you can tell, like, the cropping on this is all out of whack, this Galactus picture. I think I did this almost 2 years ago, maybe a year ago. I just want this as a test for two things. One, this is really what, let me grab this over here. I've only had a chance to do 2 tests here, okay? So you guys can kind of tell what's going on. Hey, Michael. So this here, we might be getting into a little bit tonight. Let me just, here. The webcam's all flipped, so we're going to be doing some shady dances here. So this one here, this is what you would consider, at least from what I understand, what is called ink wash. What that is you just grab ink and you add water to it, and that's it. So the more water you add to it, the lighter gray it'll get, and the less, the more black it gets, right? And with this, you can just use like an actual brush and water, and just start doing gray passes. This one here is what I'll be working on tonight, this sort of style. This one is actually done with a gray wash pencil or something. I don't know the terminology just yet for this. It's very similar, but it is different as well. I actually dig this one a little bit more, just because there's a little bit more, I don't know, it's different. It's not necessarily a watercolor, but it's kind of there as well. And let me see. Oh, is it all upside down for you? I got everything all reversed over here, so hopefully it comes out pretty straight for you guys. Should be good. Right? Or wait, no. That's what you got. Oh, yeah. Welcome to technology, guys. We'll get there. Oh, God. So, anyway, we'll see how it goes. But anyway, I'll go through the tools that we're going to be using. What I will say is where I'll check out Freddie Williams. That's where I saw this stuff almost a couple years ago. Traditional tools like inking and all that, I'm still a little like, uncharted territory. I'm much more comfortable in digital. I think a lot of us tend to be, unless you've grown up doing all this stuff traditionally. That's cool. But this stuff is cool for commissions and conventions, I think. I don't want to necessarily, at least at this time, buy Copics. And color is awesome, but it takes a lot of time. And I love black and white and even gray work, right? Like, a lot of the stuff I've been doing is using like Copic markers, right? Like the gray stuff, and that works. There's nothing wrong with any of that. But this, I feel, might add a little bit speed, and there's it's a little, I don't know, it's got something beautiful to it that's a little different. Like this right here, you can kind of tell it just looks like, this looks almost Copic in a way, and this is the actual gray wash with ink. And this is the pencil stuff, and it looks like there's a little bit more, I don't know, like texture or organic stuff. Let me see if I can kind of, I apologize for this garbage webcam, but here, let me see if I can sharpen it up a bit there. So can you kind of see the texture that's going on in there? Like, that's really cool to see. So when you see it, I don't know if we'll be able to hear. Let me just, okay, we're going to bend this some bitch. Just like that. Just so I can zoom in. So can you see the texture that's kind of going on in there? Like that, to me, that's pretty fun. Where this one, it's a little different. right? It just looks a little bit more Copic. But anyway, we'll get into that. We'll start farting around. But yeah, like I said, check out Freddie Williams. That's where I saw it. I think a Cartoon Block is the YouTube channel that I first stumbled upon it. And yeah, it's pretty cool. If you're interested, if you have any questions, by all means, please ask in the chat. I will do my best to answer it. I'm still very much an apprentice with this stuff. So we may as well sneak in some time while we got it and just sort of learn it. What else was I going to say? Oh, I guess I'll just go over the tools that I'm using for this. Real simple stuff, like I said. Apprentice level thing, so everything's on the cheap as much as I can get it. So this here is just Bristol board. Actually, I'll show you the Bristol board I use. It's not even like anything fancy. Like I always hear people saying, oh, it is Strathmore. Great. I was gonna say I always hear people talking about Strathmore, and I don't even think I have it. But it's this. It's very like it's almost cheesy. I don't know. 300 series. I don't know. It doesn't say anything about water on there. This is normally what I would just print, kind of like what we're doing here, and just do inks over top of it. It's pretty smooth. There's not much tooth to it, which is pretty good, I think, for inks myself. I'm a fan of it. And the first test, which is going to be fun, because tonight what I would like to do is this. We're just going to do a gray wash on this, but then the next thing I want to do is grab another 11 by 17 and sort of go all the way with it. You know, like start with pencil and build it up as if it was a commission, because I want to see, like, I don't want to necessarily soak this with water, but I want to see how wild and crazy it can kind of go. You know, that way it gives me a little bit more of a reference point for when I'm doing this stuff, if I can do it at conventions and stuff, right? So that's the paper we're using. It's not a watercolor paper at all. It's very smooth, and the water travels pretty easily on it. It doesn't really bubble too much that I've noticed. More so with the actual ink wash than this stuff here. So I'll go over what we'll be using here. This here is, I've already ordered one online. This one was a local one. This one's by Pentel. Yeah. And from what I think it's called, I threw it out. I apologize, you guys. Oh, it's right here. Let me get it here, because you guys might be into it. Aqua Wash. It's a water brush by Pentel. Okay, so you guys can check that out if you're into that. The stuff that I saw a lot of people using, it's different. I had ordered online in Canada. It was a little harder to find, but the well here is just water that you open up, right? And the tip is, it's just like a brush pen, really. And you can squeeze it to fill it with water and all that kind of stuff like that. Which is, I don't know, this feels, I don't want to say like cheating, but this almost feels like the digital version of watercolor. If you can understand that analogy there, right? And the only other guy that you're going to use, and I only grabbed this one because if you watch a video by Freddie Williams where he talks about his tools that he uses, you know, he's done a lot of people have already done a lot of hard work researching tools at work, right? That's why we all go to Cintiqs and stuff. So this one here, I don't want to get the glare on it, so you can pause the screen or whatever you want, but I'll read it. It's a General's Sketch and Wash, number 588. I bought a box of these. I think they're about, I don't know, around 20 at the most, I think. And I think there's like 10 of these pencils, and I can only imagine they'll last a very long time. So all we do is you just sort of sketch, which is cool because it's like a pencil shading, right? You're shading where you want, and then all you're going to do with this is you smear it around and you blur it around. That's it. That's really it. The difference that I'm finding between this and like an ink wash is this is like, you kind of have to act quick to move like a lot of your graphite around, whereas with the ink wash, I can just sort of like paint it on, you know? It's a little different. And then after that, we will get into inking it. And I'm probably going to go pretty simple with it. I don't know. We'll see. And the inking tools that I've always used for traditional stuff so far has been Stedler. I want to try checking out some other stuff. But yeah, I've been using these for a very long time. So the ones I have right here are like 0.05, 0.1, and 0.3. I don't know if we'll go any bigger than that. This is more for like the precise stuff. Next up, we got these guys. I think they're called the Kuretake, if I'm saying it right, Kuretake. They're just two different, it's kind of like a brush pen, or like a marker tip, but it's got like you can sort of put pressure on it to get a thicker line. I like these ones too. They feel a little bit more like pens than brush pens. My control for brush pens, I need a lot of work with that. So yeah, there's two different sides here. Usually I use these for like contour lines, but you can see this one that I printed out, I've already got the contour line on there. So this is usually, if for what I would use these for, is like if you just need like a thicker line weight or something somewhere. And then the last guy here is everybody's favorite, the Pentel pocket brush. I gotta be careful when I open it because it always like, smears, but it's very much just like this water brush that we're gonna be using, except it's ink, and you get a little cartridge on the inside instead of dipping it into an ink well. That's it. Keep it pretty fancy. Yes, it is, Michael. Sorry, I just saw your question there. So let's get started here. Like I said, this first little test here, we're just gonna sort of feel it as we go. And then the next one, we're gonna go all the way with it from pencil right to finish, so I can get that experience. So that one might take about an hour, hour and a half, I would assume. This one, I'll probably just fart around for about a half hour, just to sort of get this going. Oh, can't forget this too. Toilet paper. You're gonna need something to dry up this stuff. I've also got the ink wash stuff behind me. I don't know if I'll be using it. You guys let me know if you want to see more of that. I'm more interested in this. Again, this right here feels, I don't like cheating, but it feels a little bit more like I might have more control because there's less room for error with this sort of stuff here. Um, yeah. Oh, and I forgot, there's actually one other thing. Let me see if I can find that. And it's really just grab a pencil. And the pencil you can kind of just draw in to do like shading and shadows and stuff, right? So let me find, I like a smeary kind of pencil. I don't know which one it is here. Let me see. So let me do a little test down here. You're looking, or at least I'm looking for like something like an HB or something, or like, like I don't want these ones here. You can't really see it. These are like the F and H's. I don't want that. I want like 2B, 4B, just thick stuff here. I thought I had one. Apologize for that. What is this? 4H? No. No, what the hell? For now, we'll use this. So what this is here, this is a Pentel pencil holder. I don't even know what the hell kind of lead's in there. It's a little heavy, but with this sort of stuff, smearing with your finger can kind of get like a nice effect. But what I would use this for is like once you get into the gray wash area, right? Like sometimes you just kind of want to go in here like nick a little detail and stuff, or blend a little bit. And from what I've heard, this is sort of like a little fun little way of doing that. So let's get going. I think we'll start with the face. So let's pick a light source. We'll just say at the top right. We're just gonna keep things super simple here. Um, Hopefully I'm not leaning in too much here for you guys. And I'll try to zoom in a little bit. I can already tell that I'm going to want to do a lot more of this stuff, so I'll have to look into upgrading our webcam here. So we can do more hot web shows. I'm pressing pretty light here. I'm not trying to... It's funny, I find when I'm doing this, it's sort of like you could kind of get into a... like you're drawing with pencil, like shading with different valued pencils, like when you buy like one of those starter artist sets, when you're trying to draw portraits and all that. And as you're going in there, it's like, all right, cool. You're using different, like you start with like an HB, and then you start getting into some other stuff. So you can kind of blend it, and this is a little different than that. Alright, because I'm trying not to be perfect, but I just want to hit like major areas with this stuff. So here, let me just zoom in here, just so you guys can kind of see what the hell this is looking like. And I have found too, obviously, like the harder you press with this, sort of like the darker that wash is going to be. So what I've understood with the research I've done is like just start sort of lightish, and then let it dry a little bit, and then go back over with a little bit of darkness and stuff. So you'll probably hear me blowing into the microphone as I'm using the water brush there. Right, so here, let me just zoom in here so you guys can kind of see what's going on here. Right, so oops. Yeah, so you can kind of see it just looks like you would shade with a pencil, right? Nothing dramatic. I don't want to use this just yet. Sort of feel like you got to have your first pass on here, and then we can go ahead and dirty it up. And another thing I think is a little bit cool with this, I don't know if anybody in the chat room, or if you're watching this, again, the recorded version, let me know. If you guys have ever bought a commission from somebody, or, even me or whatever, but if you've ever bought a commission from somebody, and what was really cool about it was the fact that there's something about it that was different. Like they used Copics, like color. Was that really cool to you? Maybe it was they used I don't know, ink wash or charcoal, pastels. Yep, this will be posted. Usually, once these are done, because I play a little bit of music in the beginning, I have to edit that out once it's on YouTube. So, this will probably be posted on Saturday. Saturday sounds good. So let's try this. Let's get like a. I'm just gonna try to have like a thicker line over here. We can use this for like a cast shadow, perhaps. I think that'd be kind of cool. Maybe we can smear it this way too. I wish you. Ah, man. Oh, I wish I'll get a better webcam. I'm just looking at this and I'm looking at the screen. I'm like, oh, I want you guys to be able to see some of this sweetness. Actually, let me see if I can. Nah, it won't work. Let me get that out of the way there. Hobby is saying when I had my drawing from you, I stared at it for 30 minutes trying to. Oh wow, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Hopefully you got something out of that. I mean, like, let's put it this way. You know what that says to me, and from the bottom of my heart, what I love about that is like I don't think as much as I wish they did, and I don't go to a lot of art galleries because of this. That I assume this, but that there's not really comic book or like concept art or illustration stuff necessarily in galleries. I could be totally wrong. I don't travel enough to check these things out. I just assume that it's like a painter's fest. I'm not really into painting that much, but whatever. So when you say something like that to me, that's really sweet. That like I do it too. I've got pictures of Capullo art on my wall that I stare at almost daily, and you always find little things in there that's like, wow, that's cool, and it's almost like staring at a painting. So when you hear somebody say something nice like you did of your own art, that's thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. Yeah, I drew this. I think maybe even a year ago, bud. Yeah, this is just a test thing to get this going here. I will be doing a fresh from beginning stage, right from pencils to. We'll see how it goes. I just got this stuff earlier this week. So the easiest way I find, like when you're learning new tools, is you don't always have to reinvent the wheel. Meaning, like what I'm about to do, like totally redrawing this, I don't have to do that. I can just keep printing this sort of stuff out and figuring it out this way. I don't have to go all the way with it. So if you're learning like even digital, I recommend. I did this a lot too. Is even just with like a camera or if you got a scanner, scan in your pencil drawing and then put like turn the layer to blue, make a new layer, and just start inking over top so you can learn the tool you're using, whether it's a Cintiq or like a tablet or anything like that. You don't have to always start from the beginning to learn a new tool, in my opinion. You'll get comfortable and then you can start branching out that way. But there's little tricks where it's like, oh, I didn't know this would this would blend like that. Oops, I spent all that time getting to. Imagine if I drew all this right now, and I get to the water part, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that if I added too much water here, like it would just ruin it. Okay, well that's good to know. I won't do that next time. You can just do that with little like test things, right? Michael is saying, as far as commissions go, I really don't think I care what medium is done as long as there's care and individualism showcased. Awesome. Yeah, Peyton, ask away. You guys can ask anything. Open book. So this is kind of the area I'm really interested in here. I want to get like these big beefy abs, like this sunken in torso. I know I did. If you bought my art book too, or even if you bought one of my prints, I have a Galactus print. It's the same one, and I did the shading here. I cave in the chest so that I can really pop it out like this. I always like that effect. I always thought it was really cool. hubby saying, interestingly, me and my friends are setting up a gallery and show with our comic book work. I think the comic book art galleries are places like Comic Con, and we are blessed to be in that place. That's awesome, man. Right on. Somebody I look up to, and I talk about him a lot, Jersey Droz. I believe, I hope he's on that's. He said this. I don't want to just put words in his mouth, but he was sort of talking about like when you go to like sometimes some places, some galleries, they'll have like a comic book gallery. And what's weird, and I kind of agree with him on this one too, is like when you just have like a single page up on a wall where it's like, wow, look at how illustrated this is. You know, like the detail. That's awesome. It's sort of like that's great, right? Because it just gets people into a comic book art, which there's nothing wrong with that. But it's taken so far out of context that it almost loses the point of a comic book, right? Like an illustration is something you can just look at and there's beauty in there and all that good stuff. But when you just have a single comic book page that's not like a splash page, or a cover, it's like, well, what happened before and after? That's comic books. It's story, right? It's not the art's supposed to help the story. And I know everybody's got little different versions of it, but anyway, I just wanted to say that because I forget. Like I said, I remember him saying something or somebody was talking about that, and I was like, yeah, that's actually a good point. I've seen a lot of people post like, look how awesome this artist is, and it's one comic book page, and it's like, but what's after that? What's the rest of the comic look like? So I'm starting to go a little quicker here because I want to see if how this is going to turn out. Like all this is just going to be solid water. It's going to be cool. Peyton is asking, one thing I struggle at is storytelling, and I was wondering how you learned how to be so good at it. Well, thank you for that. I feel like that. I don't know. I need to be putting up more comic books for really like. I just have opinions on story. Once Jessup King starts coming out, you guys, then we can start critiquing my storytelling ability. You know. But if I can't answer your question at all, I would say find what it is that you like about story and tell a lot of those stories. If you're doing comic books, you got to be a well, good storytelling is subjective for sure. Um, some people they don't even care for story; they just want pretty pictures and action. Nothing wrong with that. You just got to know the storytelling you're into, right? Other than that, there's like some screenwriting books. There's a lot of parallels between like writing for TV or movies and comic books. I find so like a good book. Well, it's not really a good book, but it might get you on the right path. Like I enjoy structure, like step one, step two, step three stuff. So there's a book called Save the Cat. It did a lot of that, where it was like you start with note cards and start building it that way. I'd recommend checking that out. That's Save the Cat by Blake Snyder, I believe is the name. Um, that's really the actual writing book that I would check out for that. As for just good storytelling, just be more aware of what it is about story that you like and try to understand what it is. Also, start watching movies that you like and see if you can start to figure out, okay, well, this is where, let's say the act, if there's three acts or something, just assume there is. If you were writing that movie, where would you end act one? Where do you think it ended? And start to see if you can put together the plot of the movie as you're watching it. It might ruin the movie for you, but for me, I get a kick out of that. I really do enjoy going to movies or whatever. Maybe movies that I might not necessarily want to see, but movies nonetheless, and sort of figure out like, okay, I bet this might happen, and to see if you're right or if you're wrong, just to see how your chops are kind of going with that. All right, let's do this. It's the moment of truth. Okay, so we got this here. Just gonna draw on my hand for a little bit, just to see how much water is coming out. Because you can actually squeeze this and like really pour on the water. I don't know what the difference is when doing that, so we're gonna test it out. Start with the face here. We can just blur this way. So what I'm thinking about when I'm doing this, I really like that there's a nice fine tip on this too. That's really cool. So what I'm thinking about here is sort of like smudging in a way. and a little bit like painting. Feels a little bit like that. Right, I'm gonna take a little bit in there from that. And I'm trying to, what's a good explanation here of what I'm doing? I don't want to blur into the white necessarily, like there's a cheek area right in here where I blurred this way as opposed to going that way, just so I could get like that indent in there. Man, this is so hard to describe when you can't really see what's going on the webcam. Sorry about that, you guys. I'll bring it up closer to the monitor in a second. Once we get like the face done here. So if I go quick, it actually like drags the stuff out so I can get like a longer fade, like a gradient almost. Yeah, I'm having a blast. This is actually really fun. I think I could be wrong, but for those of you that were uh, checking out Freddie Williams when he was doing the Batman Ninja Turtle stuff, I think could be wrong, but it was all done in like this gray wash. And the last test I'll do too, I don't know if I'm gonna do it with this one or the next one we draw. It depends on how I like that other one. I'm gonna actually just squeeze the hell out of this. See how much water we can get out of here. Interesting. But coloring this is fun too. I scanned in a previous one I did, and I sort of just went back in there, and I'll show you guys what I was doing there. You can kind of change the color of the gray. So you know how in a lot of the stuff I would color, I would pick like a purple or something. You know, it's along those lines, doing that so that it's because you don't want to necessarily have all your shadows just be black and grays of a color because then you can't really get like much range in there. We don't want that. That was a really cool effect. Okay, so this is actually a really fun thing here. Is this? We got like these nice swirlies. So I'm gonna try to blend and paint at the same time. See if we can get some nice shapes in here. That's really cool. All right, so let me just zoom it in here so you guys can kind of see what's going on. I don't even know if like it just looks like a muddy mess to you guys. Damn. Here, let me zoom in here. Get a little crisper. A little different, but you can kind of tell it's darker when I'm looking at it as opposed to what you guys looking at. I'll scan this and share it online too, so you guys can get a better look at it. But yeah, this is actually pretty wild stuff. Like I'm looking at the little things here, and this just might be the artsy fartsy stuff, but like there's these really nice water textures happening like right in here, like the small details. That's cool. Sorry. Anyway, yeah, where I was rambling with that, I'll go back to your question there in a second. But yeah, so he was if he did do Batman Ninja Turtles in gray wash, what's really interesting about that is like it gets you this. I don't know. There's a look to it, right? Just like when we just choose to do our art in whatever style, there's if you just do digital, it can have a digital look, right? If you're doing like legit painting, that's got a look to it. But there's just a little bit of a. It'd be interesting to do like an actual book this whole way. I don't know how fast you'd go through materials doing that, but so I'm really squeezing down here. I don't. Yeah, you can't see it, but I can. A lot of water coming out here. I'm trying to blend all this stuff in at the same time. Plus, get some of this extra gray wash to kind of come out with it. Get a nice blend. Cause that's okay. So this is how I'm kind of getting this build up here. You gotta be a little quicker with it. So let's try it here. So if I get like his arm, and I just start get a little rough with it. And this stuff really starts to sing. I'll tell you that right now, just out of the small experience I had with it, and even checking other people do this. is once we get to the inks, you guys. Oh man, beautiful stuff. Yeah, I'm getting a kick out of this. This is cool. The paper's starting to like buckle a little bit here with like this heavy water stuff, which makes sense. Up here is it's a little damp. So if I was at a convention, I wonder what I would do if it's just like, okay, well here you go. I promise you it'll flatten out, or how much water? Yeah, we haven't really used much water either. Or if it's like come back in like an hour or two and put this under some books, just to flatten it out a bit. Uh, Sorry, so this is just going back a little bit back here to what Peyton was asking about struggling with storytelling. He means like placement of characters and panel compositions. Yeah, so that's composition. I think is more along the lines of what you're trying to say. A good book is Framed Ink. I recommend people always check that book out. It's helped me out. Um, One thing I'm noticing, and you guys will start to see some stuff here as I start talking a little bit more about Jessup King on the channel and start posting some actual pages. I have some video content and stuff that I just need some water in this. Some video content coming out about actually using silhouettes to do comic books, and along those lines, framed ink is huge because you can actually start drawing pages in giant, disgusting black shapes and start refining after that. And it's actually changed a lot of how I look about going to make comics. Because for me, I don't know if any of you guys work like this too, but like when you draw, and we'll be doing it in the next drawing here too, but when you draw, it's like you build it up with pencils, right? And then you start refining shapes like that. So when you do thumbnails, they're about like this big, right? And you can just draw like little dinky shapes so you have an idea of what's going on. After that, it's sort of like the bigger you get, it's you're still using a tiny medium, right? So if I'm using a pencil, just say this is the pencil I'm using. No matter what, that tip is always so small. I can only do like gestured outline shapes and then start erasing and refining, right? But what I'm finding with the silhouette stuff, because it works so well with concept art, that if you don't know what I'm talking about with silhouettes, imagine Galactus here. He's just solid black, okay? And then what you do is you make a layer over top of it and you draw inside that. So it's a little different of a an idea of what's going on. But with the black shapes, you're able to direct the eye. I find more quickly than necessarily just drawing. Like okay, so I want a head here, torso here, and then I'm gonna bring a big arm up this way. Like there's too many moving parts going on right now that you don't need to worry about when you're necessarily thinking about composition. I find. So how do you take something as gross as just a black shape and make a comic book page around it? That I'll show you guys a little bit more of that because I think it is a little bit more of a weird topic unless you're trying it yourself and you sort of know what I'm talking about. I am finding it is a little harder to work like that when you have like let's say like an office building and you have a bunch of people working there. How do you draw like a bunch of like unique shapes that way, right? So a lot of what I'm doing is just sort of like gesturing it in and then sketching over top of it that way. Okay, so let me just scroll up here. Jefferson's talking a little bit about the paper. Okay, so Michael's asking about the paper holding up. Yep, we just talked about that. Is it scrubbing off or is it maintaining the surface? It seems fine, to be honest. Like it's a little bubbly. I don't know if maybe we can, I don't know if you're able to tell at all. You see a little dip in the back there? You guys, right there, you guys can probably see it. That's not flat, right? Like it's bowing up and down a little bit. It's not that bad to be honest. I mean, like if you were, let's say this was beautiful, and you wanted to put it in your room, right? You could frame this and it wouldn't matter. I don't think at all. If you look at the back you can start to see these are the areas where we had a lot of water, right? So if what I'm learning is if we don't have giant shapes like this or like this, it holds up really well, right? But I don't think this really matters. I don't know. Maybe some people would be offended by this. I don't know. I dig it. I don't know myself. Anyway, I don't know about what's it called. College taught us to stretch the paper. I don't know how do you stretch paper? Do you literally just like pull it, tape it down? Oh, okay, and wet it and let it dry. Yeah, that's the part where we're at right now. Sort of like letting this dry. So what I might do to speed this up, let's test this out. Get this guy and we'll just start dabbing. Because this is really the big test right here, right? If you want to bring this to a convention, a lot of times, I don't know if any of you guys have actually bought commissions from people, but they're standing there watching you, right? And if I have to sit here and wait for this to dry for like 20 minutes or something, that's it's one thing you'll learn real quick how to just shoot the shit with people, but at the same time you want to be able to, if you're doing commissions, it's a great way to make income, right? So you're going to want to make a lot of these as fast as you can. So let's try to find little ways. Maybe I have to bring a little battery powered fan and just do something like that, because it is a little damp obviously in these big thick areas here. So what else could I do while I'm doing that? Maybe I could just start. This might be a good time to get ink washes in, you know, because you don't want the paper to start like tearing up. Because like once I get in here with inking, right? Like if I start getting in little details in here, it might start ripping the paper, and we're not going to want to do that. So let's check that out there. See now what you're talking about there too. Wet the entire paper, let it dry, and do the rendering. I've heard people do that. Again, for convention's sake, I don't want to do that because I still have to do ink over top of it. It's not just watercolor and pencil. But it is an experiment to try. Maybe that is the best way of doing it. Wet a whole bunch of wet a whole bunch of paper, and then you're all set, right? There's a special tape for it when you tape it to a board and then cut it, and you go okay. The fist really stands out quick. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like you see this, like it. That's the beautiful part with the shading, and a lot of the colors or the grays are starting to come in. So let's just sort of zoom in here so you can kind of see. As it dries, it tends to look a little different, right? So you're getting like nice fades, almost like gradients, or literally like if you were in Photoshop, right, and you're painting. That's all it is. But it's got a little watercolor texture, and you guys actually can't see a lot of the detail. It's not showing up, even zoomed in here. It's not coming out as nice as it looks. So I'll scan it. You guys will check it out. But this is actually really wet still. Let's try pressing heavy. See if we can sort of absorb all that water. Just funny, it's cold and damp, but like nothing's coming out. It's in that paper. It's alive. Let me fix the camera. All right, so I think the next stage here that we'll do is we're going to do one last pass. Instead of the ink wash, we'll just keep going with the pencil here because I want to see how much we can build up. I want the attention always be on the face, so let's go a little darker. It feels different now that we're drawing on water. All right, so I'm going to come in here. Just little spots. I'm not going to cover the entire area here with the same darkness. So we're just redrawing this, and that's not what we want to do. Alright, so we get a little more darkness in here. It's kind of weird because this board is a little thicker. Maybe I need to just try getting a different board if this is where we're going to go. Maybe go a little thicker because I'm concerned that once we start getting ink on here, like ink's wet too, you know. Paper can only take so much. Alright, let's carve in another shape here for this cast shadow. Bring a little in here too. I forgot a little cast shadow down here. All right, well, I'm gonna try it, right? This is all for experiment. Let's get gross. Let's. Ugh, doesn't feel good at all. Feels like that's ready to rip. Maybe this area, instead of doing the gray wash there, may have been just more appropriate to have just black kind of in there. Maybe not. All right, let's get some more water action. Yeah, no, you're right. It could be a lot of different things here. You have to figure out. And that's one of the things that I don't really enjoy. Well, I was gonna say one of the things I don't enjoy about traditional media stuff is, if it's paper, well, you got to keep buying paper all the time. That sucks. But at the same time, if you're using digital, right, like a lot of that is the tools are expensive even as they are. So trying to make money as an artist is one thing. Getting tools as an artist is another, right? Never ends. It's like child support. You got no choice. You want to because you love it. Oh, almost forgot this stuff here. This is actually really cool. I dig it. You guys dig it so far, even though you can't really tell what the hell's going on? Let's get some water in here. That old 90s chrome always looks good. I wonder too if this is something to do, if it's sort of like do two at once, so you can jump back between a couple while you're waiting for some to dry and stuff. You know? Hey Nimrod, thanks man. Yeah, actually, you guys let me know if you guys have been into watercolor and stuff. Is there watercolor that doesn't have like a lot of tooth to it? Because that's one thing I don't like is like toothy kind of paper, especially for inks. I just don't like it because like I find that my inks bleed with that kind of paper, and I don't want that. I mean, in this case, where it's bleeding with water, but so this whole area is like danger zone. Alright, I think that's where we're just gonna walk away from here. Bring some gray in here. Alright. Alright, I'm gonna actually start drying this up quicker this time. Let's see if maybe this helps. It's hard to tell if this is actually taking texture away or not. I don't know. Doesn't look like anything's coming up. Hey V, hey everybody that's just popped in here. What is this newfangled paper drawing? I know, right? Digital or bust, right? It's too rippling. Okay, I'll check that stuff out, you guys. Thanks. I suppose my concern is, okay, so to be totally objective about it, yes, if this was a flat piece of paper with this effect on there, I think that would be the best. Considering it's not, I still don't mind it. I don't feel like if I gave this to somebody, they would still feel like it was like waste of money or shit, you know. Um, Again, that could just be my preference because I've got the new hotness in front of me, like playing with new. toys and stuff, it's always that's that it's the new shiny thing, so it feels good. But on the back here, if you look right, like I honestly think if, and I'll test this out too. That way I can tell people, right? Is sort of have this, even if it was in a frame or just put it somewhere flat and put some books on it or something. It should iron itself out a little bit, like flatten a little bit. I don't think like if I'm looking at it right now, just off screen with like lighting and all that, the bumpiness, I don't necessarily think it takes away from it. If anything, it might add something. Like in this area right here where it's popping, it almost looks, and I don't think you can actually see it on the webcam or not. Oops, let me just keep it like this way. But it almost looks like right here is like bulging up a little bit, like it's popping at us a bit, which is actually pretty cool. I don't know. So here I'll zoom in again, just so you guys can kind of see where we're at. I'm gonna start the inking in a second. Then we can see what really happens, right? So here we go. We got like a second wash kind of in there. So do you see like you'll see the better in the scan, but like right in here, I always love that effect where it goes like right, you got the shadow of the cheek or the jaw or whatever, and then it comes in and there's like the white gap and then the hard shadow right into like the little textured cheek part, on that side. That stuff always looks really cool to me. I always dig that. It's kind of got like a little bit of a chrome feel too. Yeah, you guys keep talking about stretching the paper. What is that? What is that? Yeah, thanks guys. No, I mean traditionals. It's legit. There's always something to it. You yeah, you can't send links. If you want, sorry for making you jump through hoops here. Just go to my website, jonathanrector.com. It's at the top of the stream here. Um, Contact me. There's like a little button you can click there, and you can just send me a quick email. No, exactly. You're exactly right, Nimrod. Yeah, and there are new people in here. So, like I said at the beginning here, guys, check out Freddie Williams. I don't know if he. I think he has a process of him showing him actually doing something similar to this. But there's another YouTube channel called Cartoon Block, and you can see him doing. I think it's a Batman, a Flash. His Ant Man was really nice too. But he also gets an ink washes as well, which is a different look. But it's nice either way. It stops. What if you take an iron to it? Yeah, I don't. Yeah. One last again, like what I was saying though is I want to make sure I can do this at conventions. So if I can't do stretching at a convention, or if I can't do, I can't iron. I know that. I know that for sure. So if I can't do those things, then it's sort of like a. I have to try to find a way that I can be able to do this. Maybe I can't do giant areas like this, right? Like I can't do the Punisher. I can't do if it's solid black characters. Maybe that's better for ink wash. Maybe it dries a little differently. I'm not sure. Oh, on face even better, Facebook. Thank you so much. Okay, so all of that here, I'll show you guys how much water that used. If we can kind of, it used maybe a third of it, but I was using this a little bit for some other stuff as well. Okay, so let's get into some inking stuff. And again, for the new people, the only things that I use for inking before we toss in maybe a little extra graphite here. Actually, I'll do that first. This is just, I think it's like HB lead, to be honest with you. And that's just going to sort of like cut into some areas and maybe get a little bit more refined spots. These are what we would use for just like our line work here, right? I got a 0.3, 0.3, 0.5, sorry, 0.3, 0.05, 0.1. These here are the Kuretake, they're like marker pens, marker brushes, I think. The tip's not like this Pentel pocket brush. It's not like a paintbrush, but it can go thick to thin, and it's more like a marker tip. I like these for outlines and thicker shapes like that. This stuff is more for like flat blacks for me, and sometimes I'll get a little artsy with it, but brushes to me, they're a little bit out of control. I don't have that control just yet, so I kind of stay away. They might sell ink wash paper, yep. Again, I just don't want stuff that has like a tooth to it. I don't like it. So this I can tell right now is I don't want to use this because this lead, it's like that mechanical lead. It's very sharp, and it's going to start cutting into the image. So we don't want that. We want the old school pencils like this that got like a nice just like blunt end to it. Just give me a second here, guys. I'm gonna try to find something in my toolbox. One sec. All right, cool. First one. It's like these old. I think I bought these in like one of those metal containers that are everywhere. This is a B. Oh, that feels nice. That's actually really cool. Hmm. Seems like it flows really well on the watercolor too. So this is just I'm just using this sort of to like control the outside lines a little bit, you know? Sorry, yeah, it's the lead type is B that I'm using here. You could noodle with this stuff all day, guys. Man, isn't art cool? Art's cool when everything seems to be clicking and everything's new and fresh and you're getting somewhere. If you're always hitting roadblocks all the time, it's like, oh, this is the most frustrating thing. I just want to sharpen up this point right here by the nose. It's always a nice looking cast shadow when you can get in there. Okay. Or sit. All right. So let me just zoom in again here, just so you can see what the pencil is kind of doing on the face. So do you see where I'm sort of? I don't even know if you guys can tell, but like the pencil really doesn't even look that much like it's different than the ink wash. It just looks like a finer uh, detail point. Like on the nose, it might look a little bit more like pencil. Um, I'm trying to think where else. And that's about it. Thanks, man. Thank you, guys. All right. So maybe actually okay. So it's actually pretty dry now, which is exciting. See how the back's looking. My back is still a little dimpled. All right, let's get into some inking stuff. So we are going to start with, I think, this one. Let me just get used to the brush here. Yeah, this one's more my favorite one. I don't really like this teal one. This teal one, I find it's supposed to be smaller, but it almost looks like it's a little bit more. You guys can't see it, but the range I get with it, it's not the same. It's a little bit more on the thicker side. This one, I feel like if I can press down, almost breaking it, I get some really nice looks. But I don't want to do that necessarily because I don't want to destroy my wrist. So let me just turn a little sideways here so I can get here. All right, bring it this way. So the light was coming from where? Top right, we said. And I don't want to overly ink this either. This is just mostly for practice, like we said, right? So just using the inks to clear stuff up. Sorry for all the sniffling, you guys. All right, we can get like this little line in here too. Get that cast shadow sort of thing. So I think I'll do here, just to just to save you guys from looking at nothing really, because this webcam's not ideal for this, I don't think. I'll just keep inking this probably for the next, what do we got, 8:20 now? 10 or 15 minutes, and maybe we'll definitely stream tomorrow. It'll be more digital stuff. I've got some silhouettes to work on for I think I only got 2 more prints to get through to get to the rough line art. So I've got to get the silhouettes done. One's a Mega Man one. What's the other one? What do we got now? We got the Trinity, Mega Man, the 2 Power Rangers. Oh no, the other one was the Ninja Turtles one that we did. I don't know if my last one's gonna be Power Rangers. Like I like them and stuff, but I'm just wondering. I don't know. Maybe we can just do like a single character or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out tomorrow, but I'll stream that tomorrow, starting a little earlier, and then I'll go do a little research to see how much webcams are, so we can do this more often. Honestly, I'm having a blast doing this. There's always something about process and art. I don't want to get all philosophical on you guys here. I'll answer you guys' question in a second there. But there's always something magical about art, and I find when I do things digitally, there's nothing wrong with it at all. I love it. The process is awesome. Everything about it feels really good. But I guess working traditionally kind of brings me back to working when I was a little kid or a teenager, at home. Like right now, I'm still sitting on my desk. There's something there where it's a different kind of relaxing, I guess. Maybe because it's more interactive, right? Like I'm moving things, unplugging each brush I need to use. I'm not just hitting menu buttons and just using the same tool. Everything's got like a different feel to it. It gets a little different of a result. There's a little bit of accents and stuff that are happening here. I don't know. I don't know. His eyes are looking a little suspect. Just go straight across like that. And you get really cool little details in there like that. Yes, that's nice. You guys, you guys literally can't see all the little things I'm putting in here. That's doing nothing. Oh well. Anyway, thank you guys for coming in. Give me somebody to talk to. Hobby is asking, John, can you do some fun stuff by putting water down and then dropping ink onto it? Yeah, we could try that, I guess. Actually, you know what I'll do to just to finalize it? I'll break out the ink wash once I'm done the inking. I'll just do like some, I don't know, like some paintbrushy things in the back. I don't know how it's gonna look. Whatever, it doesn't matter. It's 1 a.m. where you guys are at? Damn. It's about 8:30 p.m. where I'm at. So, hobby just said something here, and I know you mean it in a sweet way, but it's like it could also be taken in a bad way, right? It's like watching your process really helps with my self-esteem. I love that. That's awesome. Good. Now, why is that? Is it just because of how like long it's taking me to do something? Is it the quality's not up there? Is it how rough the process is along? Like nothing's perfect each time you're doing things, or is it just all of it all together? Just watching somebody else draw. It's awesome. Oh, it's the speed thing. Okay, cool. Good. Good. Speed comes, I think, with just practice of like doing things over and over again, and then your confidence builds up too, right? So with digital, I know I'm way faster. I think the more you use a tool, right? Like you just start getting comfortable with stuff again with the confidence. But yeah, there's no magic science with art. Just draw. It's time, right, guys? The only secret thing to art is sitting down and doing it. Anybody and everybody talks about drawing, but unless you're actually drawing, you'll never get where you need to be. There's no tool that's gonna make anything awesome. Good example here, I guess, is even what I'm doing here, right? Uh, the only reason I guess maybe I can skip a little bit of the learning curve is because of the digital painting and stuff that I've done and tried to learn value and shading and stuff like that with pencil and even ink, right? So there's some things you can kind of skip there, but no matter what, I won't be able to do anything here unless I'm sitting down and actually working, figuring out the tools that I'm using, right? So nobody can escape just sitting down and doing it. I'm actually really getting this is cool. I'm digging it. Digging it. You know, please, yeah. I want everybody to get better. Good. Good. So here at these sorts of things here, I'm just worrying about getting the line weights over these objects here, right? So that this line doesn't just blend with the one that's underneath of it. And this is what I like about these Kuretake brushes. I actually found out about these by Ryan Otley. Even though you guys hear about Invincible, it's done soon. Is it a year that they have? Then it's over. Either way, he has a very mechanical way of drawing, right? Like it looks like microns and stuff like that. That's why I dig this here because like I can press hard, it'll only get like a certain width to it. But I find it works really well with working with these thinner lines. Keeps me from getting too like artsy, I guess, with it. Like in here, I might actually break out the brush pen there, kind of figure some of that out. Hobby saying, I miss just being sat in a room full of people drawing. I find it more interesting to watch and analyze what a person is doing and try to read into why they're making their choices. Hmm. Nimrod's asking, you're not doing anything new, John, just the way you do it makes it feel easy for a blockhead. I don't say that. John, have you ever noticed that digital work making your analog work better? Like, I feel like using a stylus and a slick screen has made my hand more careful. Hmm, that's a good. I don't know. That's a really good question. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. Okay, now we're gonna break out the brush pen because I'm gonna get a nice thick contour line on this. But I'm not sure if it's made my. I would have to assume yes, right? Because just what I was even talking about of like hours translate, right? So if you're drawing for 10 hours a day, your art's gonna look better in a year, no matter what, right? I think the difference is again is just the tool familiarity. So if working on a Cintiq for 10 hours a day for a year, that'll make your digital work probably really good. But then when you sit down with like a brush and you want to and you're trying to do something similar like what I'm doing with like a brush pen or something, we'll say, maybe it's a little different because now there's ink flow problems and the bristles are sticking out. You know, one's always shot out, so it's giving like a secondary like halo line around thing. That's the tool stuff I'm talking about. But I really don't think like there's no like right now I'm doing an inking no. I'm drawing away from the line and I can't even see where I'm going. But yeah, I don't know. I guess yeah. I guess so. So I'll just stick with the answer being yeah. We're just working digitally has helped me um, become a better traditional artist. If so much as even with this gray shading stuff, I've recommended you guys do this too. Um, it's one of the ways I learned, and I was told to do or suggested to do to learn like how to do shadows and shading and rendering and stuff is just draw something like this. Well, maybe not like this, whatever you want, and print it out like kind of small, and just get like a fat Sharpie marker or even a brush pen and just start spotting thick blacks. You know, like maybe print out four pieces on an 8.5 by 11 and just grab. Okay, what's the light source look this way? What's it look this way? And that's just training your eye to see things differently, right? Through like repetition and action and stuff. That's all. But yeah, so in that way, yeah, digital has helped because I could paint or grayscale or learn how to sort of like how this affect this look by referencing things and stuff like that. I can kind of see how it might end up being and why I might want to look into a style of drawing, you know, for sure. And then just being able to experiment more with like layers and stuff like that. It's a little bit more forgiving, I think, and getting all the tools like legitly and trying to properly find out how to work that kind of stuff. Batfan, I've wanted to try brush pens, but are those refillable? I don't want to have to buy a new one. Yeah, they totally are. Well, I'll give you a little pro tip as well. So, this Pentel brush pen, let me just unscrew. I don't even know how much ink's in here, so this will be kind of fun to check out. So we're about, I don't know, maybe less than half, if you can kind of see. And what I do is you can just go online. If you're in America, you're in a really awesome spot because you guys have access to like Dick Blick and Jet Pens websites. Even I think there's Amazon is great, and you can just order like buttloads of these, right? And just keep them. Canada, I have a hard time finding a lot of this stuff, or the prices suck because I have to go to American sites for it. So there's that. The other trick you could do, and I started doing this as well when I was just when I was at a convention actually, and I ran out. I had an inkwell next to me that I brought, and why I used that was because I'd use like a toothbrush, and you can kind of like just dip the tip of the toothbrush in there and just flick it, and it'll splatter. A really cool gritty effect, right? But what I just ended up doing was using this like a pen, so I would dip it in the well, and then come here and make sure that there was enough ink on there, just sort of like start drawing it that way. So regardless, it'll never stop being what it is. The only thing is like the bristles might start going on you, right? But these aren't that expensive over the lifetime, I don't think. I'm not sure. I don't really know that. I guess the other question too is like how often do you ink and how much do you ink, right? Like if you're an inker, I think this is more fun for like smaller stuff. Really like what I'm doing, like commissions or something. Like I'm not inking full comic pages. That's not something I'm ready to do just yet. But even still, I mean, should be able to do the job. One thing I can tell too with this paper, especially with this, and I don't know what it is, but this ink tends to bleed. Like you can't see it, I know, but it bleeds into this paper a little bit more, whereas these marker pens, they don't bleed. quicker, it won't bleed as much. Yeah, if I go quicker, it doesn't seem to bleed. That's crazy. See, so here I can get a little more artsy fartsy with all the heavy blacks and stuff in there. I don't want to go too crazy with it. Just keep it tame. Keep it tame. Okay, I'm gonna put this away. I'll go back to this guy. All right, well, we got about. Let me just check this here. We got probably about, I don't know, 20 minutes, 25 minutes. So if you guys had any questions you want to jam in, that would be a great time to do that. I guess we can start doing some plugging and stuff. So tomorrow we'll do some streaming, pending any kind of crazy life stuff. We'll stream for, I would assume, probably at least a few hours. Probably, okay, if I were to give it a time, let's say maybe, what would be 10 hours, or 12 hours from now would be 8 a.m. Probably about, yeah, around there, about 12 hours from now. So whatever, look at your clock if you guys are free tomorrow and you guys want to hang out. About 12 hours or so from now. 12 to 14 hours. Those of you that are really interested. If not, I'll post it online and stuff, so don't worry about missing it. And it'll be recorded and all that good stuff. So I'll be working on some more print stuff, the rough stuff, which I think a lot of people are interested in. I mean, the end product stuff always looks really good, right? Like that's the fun stuff. But as artists, I think maybe I speak to myself on this one, but it's good to have those videos out there too. It's nice to see how people finish a thing too, like how they move their hand and all that stuff. But starting an image is just as important, I think. That's why I dig doing those videos. And they always look a little different, right? They always have like a different energy. So there's that. I just had a bunch of videos actually. Like last week was really cool. Had a lot of time to just post a lot of videos about just stuff like I was just saying there. So you guys check that out if you're interested in that. Patreon's been going really cool. I will be putting my Manga Studio brushes on Patreon. I'm assuming if I wrote it down right, if I'm remembering correctly, the start of next month, because Patreon's changed how they sort of charge people now. So how it works now is when you make a pledge, it charges you right away as opposed to at the end of the month, which is awesome because when it would charge at the end of the month, it always felt like I was a month behind with things, right? So there's commissions that I'm doing for people, which is one of the rewards and stuff. Uh, but it's like so anything for August, like once August 1st comes around, it's like okay, it starts charging people for July. So once all those things go through, then I can go, okay, well, what would you like for last month's stuff? And I don't know, it just felt, it is like a subscription model, but it just felt weird. So now they have it. If you want, you don't have to. I've turned it on. Of when somebody clicks pledge, they get charged right away. I'm pretty sure you can still get refunds and stuff. But what's really good about that is because now I can start putting my like Manga Studio brushes on there. I'm not sure what pledge level I'll be putting those at. Maybe just the dollar one or something like that. That way, right when you get it, you can get those brushes right away. You don't have to wait to the end of the month to make sure your card goes through, and that's the part that I'm excited about. You don't have to wait anymore, which makes things pretty cool. And then I'll have an announcement for Jessup King coming up probably, I don't know if it's in a month or two. Nothing dramatic, just sort of. If you're a Patreon, I just released an audio, a scribble chat there, talking about where Jessup King's going, which has been a great little bit of clarity over the last maybe month and a half now, which is great. So I'll share that with you guys soon too, because I know not everybody can or even wants to be a Patreon. That's totally fine. But we'll be getting some Jessup action to you guys soon, at least in some form. You guys will be hopefully excited for that. Or maybe I'll be showing you guys something that can get you excited instead of just a name, which is pretty cool. Uh, okay, cool. We got like this thing's just loaded with questions. Thank you guys. Jefferson is asking, how do you start this process? So how this worked really is just this one here is just two tools. Again, it's a water brush. All it is like a brush, like I don't even know what the material is, just a little brush tip, right? And in here is just water from the tap. And you just squeeze it, pours water all through the well here, and it dampens the brush. So once you have that, that's really all you need. Then this here, this brand of pencils called Generals Sketch and Wash number 588. You buy a whole box of this stuff for pretty cheap. So you just sketch. The lighter you go, the lighter the gray. The heavier you go, the darker the gray. And what I did is I just started with the lighter one, sort of, and then just ink washed it. Blended it with this tool here. Try to make it dry a little bit, then do it again. Do it again. This paper I could tell it's like bowing a little bit, so I didn't want to get it too wet. Like it's actually pretty dry now, honestly. It's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. So from there we had that. Then I went to this pencil here just because I found it. Nothing fancy. It's a B brush or B brush, B lead for this pencil. It's not a sharp mechanical one because I was trying to draw in there and it was cutting into the paper, and we don't want any cutting at all ever. So this is more of like what I was looking for, like a blunt end to it, so you can kind of just shade in a little bit of details just to bring out some of the stuff a little bit better that maybe this stuff didn't get too much into with the detail, right? And then from there, just whatever inking tools you like. I like these little brush markers. Kuretake, they're called, I think. Yep, that's pretty much it. Right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly try to grab this. We're going to do like an ink wash in the background. That's really going to make this thing really bend. Then we can flatten it out and I'll scan it in and you guys can check it out. But it's pretty much done. I mean, it looks pretty cool. I like it. You can grab whiteout stuff and start putting some highlights and things, but I don't know. Not really into that too much. Let me just catch up with the rest of you guys saying there. Kareem. Hi there, Jonathan. How many values do you use in ink washes? The terms are always weird. I wouldn't consider this an ink wash. This is, I guess, a sketch wash. Maybe that's what I'll start calling this, a sketch wash or a pencil wash. Maybe that's a better way, or a graphite wash, something like that. This one, you can really go as many washes as you want, I think, just depending on this. With the inking, I usually just like to save it in three. So like a light wash, medium, heavy, and then solid black if you ever go that crazy with it. I don't really do that myself, but yeah. How would I start this process digitally? Hmm, that's a good question. Actually, no, it's probably pretty simple. The textures, whatever, but you can look at any video I've done going from rough to finish. You'll see it's just like a generic pen brush. There's really nothing fancy or complicated about this workflow digitally. It's actually probably, if you ask me, the simplest way to learn how to draw because there's no like, you're not doing pressure sensitive stuff from the beginning, you know? What was the hardest drawing you ever had to do? I think the hardest drawing of. Okay. You guys got all these kick-ass questions. Let me get the ink wash stuff so you guys can see that, and then we can start answering these questions. One sec. All right, so this is where we're gonna get super ghetto. Okay, you guys will dig it. So, I will say this too. Okay, so a lot of the stuff I started to look into is because Freddie Williams. You guys know I love the guy. A lot of his work he does has given me more than a lot of artists that I follow. It's his work style and a lot of his work ethic. A lot of things I just click a lot with what he says, so I appreciate it. And he has a three-part video series where he talks about the tools that he uses. Check that video out. A lot of the stuff I started to pick up, it's kind of along the lines he was doing. Obviously, not all of us have a lot of money to just throw around. These are sort of things you build up on, right? Like, if anything, I would recommend if you were to start doing this stuff, this might be the cheapest set of things to do this, but the ink wash is actually not that expensive either. But either way, so I think this is like a dollar store brush actually, because I was doing ink. All I wanted was a bristle, and I bought some ink. I think it's Higgins ink. I just because the name sounded familiar. The things will get better the more we use it. But what I was doing is I was like, when I was still working in Photoshop primarily, I would get Bristol and I get the inks, and I would just start doing like patterns, and then I'd scan them into Photoshop, so I'd have files of this stuff. So if I ever needed like a raw ink thing, I could just pull it in and put it in the comic page. But and then I bought this one last week as well. This one I think is a watercolor brush, and it's pretty nice. You know, it gets some stuff, but it's a little too small. Like if we're gonna do the background, I want some nice blobby stuff, right? Maybe we can go in and refine stuff with this, but that's what I'm using there. And then here, I'm actually gonna have to replace this stuff because these containers suck. Actually, let me get some toilet paper here so I can kind of layer this up because these things tend to leak, and that's not a good thing. So I just use whiteout on the top here. I'm just going to use these two here. This one's light and medium, and all it is water mixed with ink. That's it. And it kind of gets you a little bit of a gray wash. And that's it. That's all you do, right? And you just sort of dry it and go. So that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to use this. Please don't make a friggin' mess. It's like, oh, sometimes it's cool to get like the tools you're using on you. See, like look at this. This is no good. This is everywhere. Sometimes it's cool to get your hands dirty, and then sometimes it's like I'll stick to digital. Thanks. I just want to see what you guys are saying there. Yeah, Nimrod is saying something that I do say quite a bit to some people. I actually had a post somewhere about it, but it's like one of the things I think a lot of artists get stuck with is the fact that there's, especially if you're digital, mostly if you're digital, there's so many little things. Traditional is the same, like what brand, what tool, what size, that stuff. But digital, there's so many like settings that people can kind of go like, I can't draw because I don't have the right settings, and that's not the right attitude. There's that. But anyway, what was the hardest thing I ever had to draw? Um, I think a lot of city things, like anything to do with cityscapes, they used to be a big problem for me because I just couldn't understand how to get that to like work, and that was not until I started really understanding or spending some time trying to understand uh, what's it called, perspective, right? Nowadays, I don't, not in a nose up in the air kind of way, but the more you start to just learn perspective and structure and all that kind of stuff, it's very, it's not simple. Nothing's simple. Nothing's ever simple. But things tend to get, they start to make a little bit more sense procedurally. Like, okay, well, I need to set up a perspective so I can understand how this works and that works and all that kind of stuff like that. That's all you really got to worry about. So it does get easier for sure. I think the struggle that happens as you keep working is that it's like, well, how do I evolve? How do I keep getting better? Because I'm a great example of this. I think where it's you get into a workflow, and I always look at different artists that I like, and I'm like, oh man, you know what's really cool about that person? They do this, or they draw like that, or like right now, I've always been a huge fan of Capcom, and I'm trying to get more of their own style into my stuff. But it's like trying to make time to be able to do that without just always having to look at reference where you're trying to draw to make sure you can kind of have something going on in there. So that really didn't answer your question at all. I'm sorry. So I'm going with a super simple background here. It looks kind of like clouds and space and I don't know what the hell. This is pretty cool, eh? You guys dig this? Not the image. I'm not trying to look for I'm not trying to look for flattery. I just mean like this kind of like traditional workflow, I guess. I don't know how well this would really work with like a comic book, but you might be able to get like that's pretty cool. Get like these little starry dab things. Might be kind of cool for some sort of effects and stuff. So I think that's it for that. I'm gonna let that dry. I wonder if there's something else I can use. Maybe I should need to start getting a rag because I don't want to just blow through all this paper all the time. And this is really gonna make it the paper really bendy. Uh, so I'll probably scan this in a few hours. I'll put some books and stuff on it to flatten it out before I put it on the scanner. I'm wondering if I go and do like a little one more passage, like a little bit darker. Let's try that. So let's close this hot mess. I gotta find a proper container. This sucks. Look at this. Oh, I felt it. No, look. Here we go. This is how we ruin tables, guys. This is the end of all things right here. Can you imagine being at a convention, right? And ink starts leaking. It's not like right now where I'm at home and I can just go, you know what? Okay, one sec. I'm going to the bathroom to wash up. All right, let's sort of try to clean the edge here. I'm gonna leave that out. Let let that do its thing. Oh, thanks, guys. Okay, cool. You guys are digging it. Trust me, I'm telling you, you guys are gonna love it when I scan it in. It'll look a lot better. There's, and one thing I have noticed is I don't know what if it's something to do with the paper or as it eventually stops being absorbed throughout the fabric of the paper, but like the textures they get better. Like if I come back to this tomorrow, I'll probably actually I'll do this. I'm not gonna rush this. I'll scan this in tomorrow, okay? Um, that way it's got like maximum absorption or something. But the tests I was doing, it just looked so much better a little bit later. Like once things started, I guess, just being more absorbed or what, I don't know. But it was looking real cool. Yeah, I kind of get to a point here. Like this table, this is I saved up quite a bit to buy this table. It's a mechanical table that's got a little button on there that I can turn into a standing desk because my posture and my oh my god, this thing is. Thought I had to cash in my man card for a second. I couldn't open it. But yeah, I saved up a little bit so I get one of these standing tables because I sit at my day job. I'm literally sitting. I probably get like 2,000 steps in a day on a good day, right? And yeah, so I saved up for this, and I'm very precious about it. But once I started doing the ink wash stuff, and a little bit before, I'm like, you know what? If this gets dirty and I can't clean it, it's my table. I don't care. I'm never reselling this thing, right? It's an arty table, right? So you start going like, oh, well, it's okay. It's like your new shoes you buy. You buy new shoes, you're precious. As soon as you scuff it, it's like, well, whatever. Or you buy a new piece of tech, and you're like, oh, that screen's got to be perfect, and your every little fleck of something, you just sort of like, that's medium. This looks heavy. Wow. Okay, we'll use that. That looks kind of good. Anyway, same thing with this table. All right, so what are we gonna do with this dark pattern before it blows out? So where do we want the eye to go? His eye's going here. Do we go down this way, or do we go? Yeah, we'll do opposite here. So let's bring it this way. Moist towelettes is probably a very smart idea. Thank you. I'll have to start keeping some stuff around here if this starts becoming a thing. I'll wash these in a sec. Okay, so that's good. What I want to do too here actually is I think in here these are supposed to be solid black. Is that right? Give me a second here, guys. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, so it's an art folder. This was for Comics Tribe, the standard Kickstarter, Galactus. Here, actually, I'll show you guys this too. You guys might get a kick out of this. Although, how the hell am I going to show you this? Oh, it's not black. Okay, so I've got some different things going on here. Let me take a look. Yeah, that's fine. Whatever. Maybe I'll just leave this. Yeah, we'll leave it. I got no way. I forgot. I was going to show you what the inks look like when I normally did this. Whatever. Where did you buy the table? I bought the table locally. Thank God. Everything I was looking online was like, like around $1,000 or something like that, and that's not even including shipping. And let me tell you right now, the U.S. dollar for the Canadian, like between the two, sucks. So expensive, the difference. It's like I can't. It hurts right now to do that sort of stuff. So when I come across something locally that's like, yeah, it might be a little bit more expensive, but it's like I have no choice if that's what I'm looking for. Great. But yeah, I think this was probably around $1,000 as well. I mean, like I said, I saved up for it. As I figure in the long haul, a standing desk is probably pretty important, especially if we're sitting all the time. So let's sign this up here. Cool. All right, guys. How did you make those ink washes? Like how many? I honestly, I'm going to keep. I'm buying new bottles. These are going to get tossed out. I got to figure out a way to how to get rid of ink so people don't die. I'm not putting it in the toilet. It's just gonna stain the hell out of stuff. But I have to get a better container because this is no good. This is not good. So what I did though is I filled them all up with the same amount of water, and I need to get a dropper because what I was doing is I was just like quickly pouring in, and it got out of whack big time. Like to me, this right here, this should be dark, not medium. I have this listed as medium, so the darker version is even darker than that. I'd probably just go straight, almost black, right? Like the ink should be black. I don't want my ink wash to be black. So I'm gonna have to look a little bit more into that. But yeah, that's what happens when you get into new tools, right? You got to find the like little bits and pieces that you're like, this works for me, this one doesn't, and all that stuff like that. But once I get that going, because I've got a convention coming up, I think in a month and a half, maybe 2 months. And that's why I want to start doing more of this sort of stuff. What I will do is I'll let you guys know. This might be a little cheeky, you guys, for the process guys out there and the girls out there. You'll hopefully get something out of it. But I'm going to start doing maybe like one of these a week or something, maybe even two of like actual ones that I'll draw up and start selling them online to just to see what the gauge is for pricing and stuff. It's a little tip for you guys doing conventions. You can kind of it's a little different, but anyway, I'm gonna do that. That way, I can start testing a lot of this sort of stuff out, so that I can get like a good recipe. We'll call it for like how many drops of ink to water ratio and all that good stuff. But anyway, thank you guys so much. I'm just gonna say bye bye for now, and like I said, I'll see you guys tomorrow if anybody's popping around. You guys want to check it out? I don't think we'll be doing anything like this tomorrow. Could be, I don't know. For sure, I've got print stuff to do, so we'll be working on that. Possibly some Jessup King stuff, maybe not. In the writing stages for that and all that good stuff. But anyway, thank you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And yeah, I don't think there's really nothing else to add to that. So anyway, thank you guys so much. The recorded version of this will be up Saturday, and I'll post this tomorrow once all the ink is absorbed and it's a little bit better and all that good stuff. Okay, you guys? So thank you so much. Keep reading comics, keep making comics, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.